Looking for help for your food addiction and you just don't know where to start? Welcome to the series, The Food Addiction Frontlines, where we uncover the expertise and services available for overcoming food addiction. I'm Dr. Vera Tarman, an addictions physician specializing in sugar and ultra-processed food addiction, here to introduce you to the professionals making a difference in our field. In each 15-minute episode, we'll meet leading experts in this field. They'll share their journey, their training, the unique services they provide for all who struggle with food addiction. So let us help you find the treatment that's best for you. So today we speak with Jennifer Krantz. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you so much for having me.
What inspired you to want to get into the field of food addiction?
My personal story with food addiction and recovery definitely inspired me to help others with food addiction. What really fuels me and makes me passionate as well is seeing people heal from diseases related to obesity using food, nutrition, and supplements in my practice. My story is one of food addiction that started later in life, I believe. In my 30s, I had a few years where there was a lot of emotional turmoil. I had my third child in my mid-30s. Shortly after that, I had a bad accident on a trampoline. I was not mobile. My weight was piling on. There was a few years where the weight kept piling on and I lost control of food completely. I did what most people do is I tried every diet. And of course, with some success, but not long-term success, I decided I'm going to fulfill my lifelong dream of going back to school and becoming a nutritionist. I was obese at that time. I was uncomfortable. And of course, it was in person, not on Zoom. And in the back of my mind, I was going to figure out my weight problem because I was becoming a nutritionist. And so, of course, I was going to figure it out. But I graduated and, of course, did not figure it out because food addiction is not discussed. I went on to practice with parents and children with ADHD and really helping those parents who did not want to put their kids on medication to start to heal with food and supplements. So looking at deficiencies, looking at their digestive systems, and that was amazing. Then my good friend found a 12-step program for food addiction. And it was eye-opening because I had never heard about food addiction before. And so it was life-changing. That year, 2015, I lost 70 pounds and I started incorporating food addiction into my holistic nutrition practice to help people heal. And then I saw you at a conference in downtown Toronto. And I remember buying one of your CDs at the booth and watching that CD over and over again and getting your book. It led me to INFACT, the International School of Training in Iceland, and I met Esther and became a food addiction professional. I started Unhooked Eating, and 10 years later, here we are today.
Oh, that's really interesting. So you have a holistic nutrition?
I have a bachelor's in psychology degree. I have my holistic nutrition degree from the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. I went to the International Food Addiction School in Iceland and got my food addiction professional designation. And next year, I plan to go back to school to do my master's in clinical psychology. I have a lot of experience with 12-step programs also, because I've been in and out of them for 12 years.
Okay, thank you. Tell me exactly what kind of services do you provide, like one-on-one or group therapy?
I do provide one-on-one, online or in person, which I have an office in Toronto. If you're in Toronto, I can do in person. I offer anywhere between two session packages or 16 plus. So depending on your needs, I do some small groups as well. But if somebody just needs a food plan, which a lot of people just come for a food plan, they can get 2 sessions, no problem. Some people need ongoing daily accountability. I also have that. So there's flexibility and they're all listed on my website, unhookedeating.com. And I do offer a free 15-minute consultation to just try to figure out maybe what your needs are, and we can meet you wherever you're at.
Thank you. What would you say are some strengths and unique qualities that you bring to our field of food addiction?
My strengths
And recovery, right?
I am a grateful food addict in recovery, and I have been one for 10 years. And it has not been a smooth road. It's been bumpy. And so, because of that, I think I really understand that there's not one solution to this problem. It really varies depending on the individual. And I'm empathetic to that because I've been through a lot. The other strength I think is my nutrition background. Again, the training in the science behind the food and which foods to treat which symptoms in the body. And we're trained to look at these systems, the endocrine system, the digestive system, and find the imbalances using food and supplements to help with those things. Be really helpful in treating addiction.
So you mentioned supplements a couple of times. You will provide a supplement plan as well as a food plan.
Yes, definitely. Often we will see maybe somebody having muscle cramps or they're not sleeping well. So we give a supplement in magnesium because magnesium's our calming mineral. And then all of a sudden they're sleeping better. Different symptoms to food addiction can be treated.
Can you treat cravings with supplements?
Yeah, absolutely. We look at maybe somebody is not getting enough protein. Sometimes we need certain essential amino acids
Yeah.
to help us produce those neurotransmitters because serotonin, for example, is produced in our gut. And if we're not getting the proper amounts of amino acids, then I'm going to help you with providing a supplement to help you produce that serotonin. Or looking at the microbiome, maybe there's some imbalances there and you need to repopulate your gut with a good probiotic. So there's many different supplements that can just overall help your recovery.
What would you classify as some limitations or obstacles in your practice?
Certain types of trauma I don't treat. I'm not qualified. It's not within my scope. And I have people that I work with in my office, psychologists and psychotherapists. I also have a lot of people, if you're not in Toronto, that are in my food addiction professionals community that I can refer to. Another limitation, as much as it is a strength of mine that I'm a food addict, if I'm honest, it can be a limitation. Like I said, my recovery wasn't smooth. It's easier to be in front of the room teaching and educating and helping others get recovery. And at some point, I started to take my will back and I wasn't seeing that my own recovery had been slipping. Having realized that, I've gotten back into 12-step rooms and treating my own recovery, which really helps me to help others.
Anything else that you do to help yourself?
I do. I have a morning routine and it involves meditation practice and readings and prayers. That's the first thing to fall away, not the food, but it leads to that. I need to get to the meetings. I need to speak to people in my community. Therefore, it makes me a much stronger, better person to be able to help others.
Yeah. What do you do when you uncover trauma or attention deficit or coexisting conditions that are often part of the food addiction or hidden behind it?
The simple thing really is I have worked with, even before I heard about food addiction, I was working with mental illness. The simple fact is we need the proper nutrition. If we're getting the vitamins and the minerals and the healthy fats to treat our bodies holistically, we're going to be treating our minds. When we cut away the sugar and the flour and the chemicals and the dyes, all the processed food, and we start to work on mindfulness practices and we start to learn how to get into parasympathetic mode and rest and digest, everything starts to function in our body. Everything starts to heal. Our mind starts to calm. Absolutely, we need to see other practitioners. But when we start with the food and we change what fuel we're fueling our body with, the fuel that we're putting in is going to help our body run efficiently and effectively.
Yeah, I guess it's the premise of nutritional psychiatry. You start with nutrition and then
you can do a lot of talk therapy, but if you're not also addressing the food, I don't think you're ever going to completely recover. You need to do both.
So would it be fair to say that you are a nutritional food addiction coach?
That's a great title, functional nutritionist or functional nutritionist, addiction coach.
What are some challenges that you confront in your practice?
There's a couple challenges. One thing is denial. Sometimes people don't want to admit that they're an addict, and I don't label people at all. We can look at a screening and we can see where you fall on that spectrum with your food behaviors. But what I find is people don't want to really try anything different, and you have to be willing to do something different to create change. The definition of insanity is doing something over and over again and expecting different results. I find that people just want to treat one symptom of addiction. And if we come in only wanting to treat the one symptom, then it's just another diet and it's not long lasting. So what I like to tell people is really we need to work on the mind. Also, once we get the food plan, we get biochemical, the body part, the physical part, then we need to start working on the mind. Rewiring the mind. We need to look at the obsessions of the mind, the cues and the triggers, and replacing those behaviors that we have formulated for years or even decades. So we need to work on changing those. We also need to work on the spiritual part of this, and that might mean God for you, and it's okay if it doesn't. Spirituality is just connection. It's just connection to either a higher power, a higher purpose, or a better version of ourselves, something bigger than our food addiction. And if we can do that and we can holistically treat all three parts of this addiction, then we're going to heal.
Good. Do you work with the family at all?
I do help people when there's struggle with somebody in their family. If some people come from cultures where everything revolves around food, they do need help in knowing what to say when they feel pressure to eat something. They absolutely need to know how to say no, how to not engage. The other support that is really necessary is a support community of like-minded people, because we can't do this alone. And so there's also a lot of meetings available in 12-step programs online. Your spouse or your partner can even listen in because they're online. Sometimes it helps them to understand what others are going through and why you need to weigh and measure your food and why you need to talk about this and spend so many hours in meetings. So it just helps people understand what you're going through, which can be really helpful.
How can people, remind us how people can find you?
You can find me at unhookedeating.com. You can text me, you can call me, you can send me an email at jennifer@unhookedeating.com. I would love to hear from you. I would love to do a 15-minute free consultation.
Any last words, message of hope for the listener?
Yeah, I would like to tell people that recovery is a long-term process. It's hard work to recover from this very complex addiction. I love quotes, so I would like to share a quote with you. We are all a masterpiece and a work in progress, meaning know that you are enough, know that you are perfect the way you are, and that we can always be growing and changing to become better. This is a recovery of consistent work. Knowing that, I think, is really helpful, and looking at the body, mind, and spirit of this holistic recovery is what gets us to the place we want to be.
Thank you, Jennifer, for spending some time with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sugar is the enemy, corrupting the minds of the teens, expelling you not to foresee. Your body's your temple, your mind is your key to a life tapped into happiness. Have it, don't dream it. If only you could